I've interviewed a lot of people over the years and had them tell me their Bigfoot stories. This is one of those classic stories that's too good not to share. It's the kind of story that sends chills down your spine.
You know, I've never really claimed to seen Bigfoot, but I know what I saw. I know I saw something I can't explain.
On a dark and rainy night in Oregon, long-haul truck driver EJ Merl had an encounter with what he thought was a soaking wet hitchhiker on the interstate. EJ Merl shares his story.
In 2004, I was driving a truck across country. I picked up a load in Seattle one night and had to deliver it in Sacramento the next morning, so it was going to cause me to drive all night to get there in time. So about 3:30 in the morning, I was getting a little tired, and I decided to pull off at Rice Hill, Oregon on the Interstate 5 and take a half-hour nap, go up, run in, take a shower, and then grab a cup of coffee and hit the road. After coming out and getting my coffee and coming out from my shower, I got on the road and started heading south. The road was wet. It was wet out. It was overcast. It had been raining, but not hard. It was more like a mist. The clouds were starting to break up. There was a full moon up in the sky. So whenever the clouds would roll over and open up, you'd get moonlight and then it'd disappear. So it was an in and out type lighting situation. So anyway, I drove probably 50 miles until I got past Roseburg, and I went into the mountains south of the Seven Feathers Indian Reservation. Once I passed the Seven Feathers Indian Reservation, I started getting into the hills. I was pulling about 45,000 pounds, so I was pretty heavy. The road was clear. It was perfect driving conditions because there's nobody on the road. It's one thing truck drivers really hate is other people on the road that are always cutting you off. I started climbing a hill. The road was clear, except for there was a semi behind me, probably a quarter mile. So as I made a curve in the road and started climbing this hill, the truck behind me, his headlights were going this way, so I was in the dark again. And as I was climbing, I was losing speed, doing about 30 miles an hour. And so as I was getting up towards the top, you know, you have a sign that says, you know, with the arrow warning you that the road's curving. So I hit my bright light so I can see ahead of me. And as soon as I did, I saw something standing on the side of the road, right on the white line on, you know, what we call the fog line. And he wasn't facing me, he was facing the opposite side, standing in this position with his head down, and I could see long hair. And my first thought is, why is he standing out here in the middle of the night in the rain on the side of the road? And naturally I turned off my bright lights, and my headlights were shining up here on his knee area. My thought process was, you know, I'm waiting for him to move away from the white line, and he didn't. I'm worried about hitting him, so what I did is I moved over partially into the other lane, and as I went by him, he's still in this position, and as soon as my headlights went past him, he stood up, and as he stood up, his face went right across my window, and his eyes were orange, yellowish or orange color. And I mean, we were just standing there probably 6 feet apart looking at each other in the face, because whenever my headlight went by, he lifted his head up. As I passed him, I looked in the mirror, and as I looked in the mirror, the truck behind me had started coming up the hill. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I see the thing standing there on the side of the road, the silhouette, because of the lights from the other semi coming up. And as soon as my trailer passed him, he went from this position, turned around. There was a cement wall here, one of them Jersey barriers. He took a step over that, which I'm thinking, you know, that would have been impossible for a man to do. And he took a step over that, took another step, and then the third step, he was in the woods, out of sight. And, you know, I had so many thoughts going across my head. What the heck did I just see? What I was planning on doing was the next rest area, which was about 5 miles. I was going to pull in there and use the payphone to call the highway patrol and tell them there's somebody out here on the road, you know. And but the more I started thinking about it, is if he was hitchhiking or needed help, he would have at least tried to flag me down, which he didn't. When I got back home a couple days later, I told the family, Pat's family, we were staying with them, and her brother said, "You saw him out your window?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's impossible." I go, "Why'd you say that?" He goes, "I'm 6 feet tall and I could walk underneath your mirror with no problems." So we went out there, and he brought a tape measure and measured the point where I saw his eyes cross my window and mirrors. Came out to be 7 foot 8 inches tall. I have a friend that lives in Eugene, and I called him, told him what I saw. He goes, "Dude, you know what you just saw?" And I go, "No, what?" He goes, "Man, you must have just seen Bigfoot." And I said, "Nah." So he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Bigfoot's been sighted out there at Crater Lake a lot lately." I'm 5'11", and this is the height of my mirror. When I saw that, what I believe may have been a Sasquatch, I made contact with his eyes through my passenger window, and his eye level was about this tall. Which on the tape measure we're going to measure is 7 foot 8 inches. Right about there is where I caught his eye level. Okay, that's about the level that I saw it. Right? About 3/4 of the way up my mirror. And as you could tell, if you look, somebody's standing out there. Even though they're standing a ways in the distance, it takes somewhat of looking down at him. And I've always wondered, why was his eyes yellowish orange? And it finally dawned on me. It's the running amber lights on my truck were reflecting off his eyes. You know, I've never really claimed to see Bigfoot, but I know what I saw. I know I saw something I can't explain, and if it was Bigfoot, that would, you know, most likely answer a lot of my questions. I mean, that would make the most sense to me. And all these years, I've never really claimed, and I've really still been skeptical, but I just know I saw something. And
It wasn't a hitchhiker Mr. Merl saw that night, but an 8-foot tall creature. What was he doing standing on the edge of the road so close to death? Was he depressed? Or was he just looking for a close encounter?